just raise your hand within the Zoom platform and we'll get to as many as we can. To kick us off, we're going to take a question here from Matt Weaver. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Kyle. Thanks for taking some time today. My question is actually not related to Bristol, but I want to go to the JGR family. You've been around Ty Gibbs for a long time. He's showed a lot as a driver. What do you think of him as a race car driver, but also as just a young man?
Yeah, I think Ty is very passionate. Obviously, his family has grown up, and ever since he's been alive, he's known his family kind of being in racing, and so he's grown up in racing. And just being around the race team and being a part of what Joe's always done, and having Coy now being a part of the organization, a bigger part of the organization. And so it's been really cool to see him grow up, get to know him. I remember even Jackson, which is the oldest one of JD's sons, that I remember him coming to the racetrack being 9 or 10 or 11 years old, something like that, and sitting with Samantha on the pit box, So I guess I've been around for a long time with these kids, and it's neat to see them growing up and having the passion for the sport that they still do, especially with Ty and Ty wanting to be involved in the racing. He's been a huge part of the iRacing stuff and huge part of my help in helping me get into the iRacing thing last year. And now seeing him full-fledged in ARCA and having the success that he's had there, and of course having early great success in the Xfinity Series, I think it's just been amazing to watch. So he's grown up in the short tracks. He's grown up in the go-karts that Brexton's doing. So it's been fun to see him all up through the ranks and to where he's at today, still having that same type of success.
Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, our next question will come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Kyle, when Eldora first was going on, you were like, I don't want to do it. It didn't look like a whole lot of fun to you. I'm curious, do you have any sort of different outlook to Bristol now that you've done some dirt racing, or is it still like, oh man, we're running heavy cars on a track and we're going to be tearing off the side of our cars?
Yeah. For me, I'm not a dirt guy. Like, I didn't grow up like Kyle Larson did. Kyle Larson's known as a dirt guy, right? But I did race dirt when I was a kid. I ran Legends cars, dwarf cars, modifieds, all on dirt, and then pavement pretty much ever since. Did run the super late models on dirt with the Prelude races that Tony had years ago. Was able to finish first, second, third in a few of those, and so it was pretty fun. But those cars are made for dirt, and so every time people ask, like, how come you won't run a truck and blah, blah, blah. It's like, these things just are so heavy, and the tire is not at all indicative to producing grip. And so it's just it seems like it's a full-fledged ice rink. Like, literally you're just out there on ice trying to make your way around the track. So that's kind of why I've never really given much participation to it. But obviously now I have no choice. It's in the Cup Series. And so we'll go out there and give it everything we got and see what we can do. Our team has really relied heavily on Kyle Busch Motorsports as to what we've done with the trucks and in the Truck Series for our success that we've had. We've won with Bubba Wallace. We've won with Christopher Bell. We could have won another one with Christopher, I feel like, but we had some things kind of happen in that race. But it's just it's going to be a learning experience for sure. These vehicles are absolutely nothing like anything I've ever driven on dirt, probably. So it's going to be interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question will come from Claire B. Lang. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Kyle, can you talk about the importance of the heat races? And well, that's sort of like a practice in a way. You have practice on Friday, and that's different, right? The weekend is just totally different. How do you approach it? And then how do you look at the heat races and the practice?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. Obviously, it all kind of depends on super bright in here. Sorry.
Better.
All right. So the biggest thing is just what the track's going to be. What state of the track is going to be in. They talk about heavy, and in our team meeting yesterday, I was talking about heavy, and Christopher Bell looked at me and was like, "What are you talking about?" And the dirt race that we had the other night, it was never heavy. He's talking about mud getting plastered to your visor and you having to rip tear-offs like every straightaway. But the heaviest it was when we ran the other night was just little specks kind of hitting you on the visor. But, you can't really have that with our cars because you're just going to get mud on the windshield and then you're not going to be able to see. We don't have the opportunity to pull visors. So it's going to have to be more dry slick and more slippery through much of the event. and you're just going to have to be ready for whatever conditions are on the track, and knowing that those conditions are always going to change. So really, I don't know that there's going to be much car and setup and stuff like that involved, as much as it's just going to be the race car driver and trying to figure out what lines your car best works in, and making the most of the opportunity.
And can you also talk about Denny and the picture you shot of him not being at the meeting and you're busting his chops? And it's hysterically funny. I saw the picture today, but set it up a little bit, and he never showed, or did he call you or text you and bust you back?
No. So fortunately, I got to the meeting literally about 30 seconds before he did. And so I shot that picture before he got there, just to make sure I had ammunition to call him out. And then as soon as I was done taking the photo, he literally walked in the door. So I made sure before the meeting started to blast that out there and get it going. And so we're just kind of having some fun, digging some points at each other. And it's crazy what people do and say on social media all the time when they have no representation of what the truth is or anything else. And so, somebody was talking about how none of our desks face each other. Well, the picture was only half of the room. The other half of the room looks the exact same way. So there's a half of the room looking at the other half of the room with screens on all four walls. And so, it's a great dynamic that we have there. And so we were just poking fun at one another. And obviously he's helping me out and trying to make Kyle great again.
I got a kick out of it. Good luck this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next question is going to come from Heather Williams. Go ahead, Heather.
Hey, Kyle, I'm just curious. There's such a mixture of dirt guys and guys that dabble in dirt and guys that don't have any dirt, but the cars are so different this weekend. Does any of that dirt experience have any advantage, or is it just such a wild card that everybody's kind of equal?
No, the dirt guys, I would say, definitely have an advantage. They just, the more experience you have on dirt, the more trust you have in what the vehicle can do on dirt. And what your driving style is, or what your driving technique can be, and how you can trust the grip level that the dirt has versus what your car has. So I think there's a lot of things that the dirt guys can really pick up on. You always see in those truck races, the guys that are good at it, that put some time into it, are better than the ones that do not. And so, I think, I can't name them all, but I'm going to go, Larson, Christopher, Reddick, even Bubba really never had any dirt experience, but he did a good job in the Eldora race for us. You look at there was another one, Friesen, for instance. I think he'll actually do a really good job. He's obviously known as a dirt guy. So those guys will shine, and I think that they'll be faster during points of the weekend. But I think it's all going to be circumstantial and how it comes down to the end, and what exactly happens towards the finish.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question will come from Lee Spencer. Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today. Just kind of curious, since KBM did have experience racing dirt with the trucks, did JGR lean on them at all, or ask you guys for any information that perhaps could expedite their building process of these cars?
Yeah, definitely. We were open book as to all the experiences that we've had with Eldora and the races that we've run over there. And, set up stuff, I don't know how much of that can be the same, but definitely some of the pieces and components and the things that we would do in order to prepare for the dirt race. I mean, one of them, it's as simple as just knowing that you need a Swiffer in your car. You know what I mean? Like the cars build enough dust and dirt, and there's enough static electricity on the windshield, the plexiglass there, that it'll pick up and keep the dirt on the inside of the window. So you need something to clean off the windows under yellow. So it's just little stuff like that I think is imperative to your success at the Bristol Dirt Race.
And aside from, this anomaly that we're racing this weekend, you feel like you're finally starting to turn things around with the 18 team?
Yes and no. I mean, certainly I don't want to get too far ahead of anything, but I will say that the guys, Ben and Jake and Seth, they did a great job of working on a good setup for Atlanta. We were fast right at the start of the race. We drove our way up towards the front. We kept clawing all day long every time we had setbacks to get back towards the front. So it was nice to have that speed in our race car, that we could perform like that to get ourselves in position to have a good run. And just trying to make up too much on pit road with with us having a new guy on the pit crew, we're kind of a little behind on pit stops this year. So I was trying to make sure we didn't lose too many spots and we sped. So, I say we, because we're a team and we win and we lose as a team. And so, we're trying to figure all this out together right now and make sure that we can continue to improve as the year goes along in order to be the best when it matters most.
Who's that crew member real quick and what's his position? And I thank you for joining us.
So our old front tire changer was injured late last year and through the off season just never was able to fully recover. So I have a new front changer. So honestly, I'm not even sure of his name. We haven't met yet. So, with protocols and everything right now, it's kind of hard to get too close to those guys. So we'll hope that we can pick it up.
Thanks again. Good luck this weekend.
Yep.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Woody Kane. Go ahead, Woody.
Hey, Kyle, appreciate your time. You've already been to Phoenix, a short track. You're going to Bristol this weekend, but it's not really, with the dirt, kind of the old Bristol. But Martinsville, where you've got two grandfather clocks, is after that on the schedule. How do you feel about your program headed there?
Yeah, I think, I look forward to getting to Martinsville. Ben last year obviously was crew chief with Harrison Burton. It was the first time the Xfinity cars had been to Martinsville in a long time, and so there was no practice. They literally just lined it up and raced at Martinsville, and they were super fast. Harrison was able to win that race. So Ben was with me when we were successful at Martinsville the years that we won in 15 and 17. So I'm looking forward to being able to get there, and hopefully we've got some things in store for us to be fast.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Alex Andrea. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Kyle. Thanks for your time. This is somewhat related to Denny on social media, but he obviously chimed in after Noah Gragson and Daniel Hemrick got together at that incident on pit road in the Xfinity race. And so with Noah being a former KBM driver and Daniel being with Gibbs, I'm wondering kind of what your thoughts are on that incident or the post-race fight, or just generally kind of Noah's progression through the series.
Yeah, it's Noah's a fiery guy, and he's obviously he's had his personality out there for a long time, and he's always been a fun, easygoing, type guy that likes to have a good time, but also does focus on his work and tries really hard at his work. And so I don't think he's any different than any other race car driver. They want to win, and they want to do their best each and every week. And so I'm just not sure that he knew the exact situation that was happening there on pit road, because certainly my visual coming down pit road is I focus in on my pit sign, and that's where I'm trying to go to get into my pit box. And when the 18 was turning into his box, there was another car there. The 18 was kind of blocking that other car. So I don't know if Noah saw the full picture of all of that and just assumed that the 18 was messing with him, So sometimes you got to take things with a grain of salt, go back and watch the film, or go and talk to a guy. But right then and there in that instance, he backed up too far, whatever, and made a situation out of something that didn't need to be one. But I think that all of us are guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I've probably seen things from inside the race car that weren't exactly what they look like on TV. And so it's a matter of growth. And he's been into it with a few of the drivers out there. Fortunately, he and I have never had any issues. So I think it's kind of the driver etiquette, the driver code, where you race those how you expect to get raced. And, when that changes, then the dynamic between those two drivers changes.
And then as a quick follow-up, he's talked about kind of embracing either being loved or hated by fans. And as someone that generates a lot of fan reaction, I'm curious if, do you think this is good for the sport? And, what would your advice for him be kind of as he continues in the series?
Yeah, it's it's a slippery slope. You certainly want to be careful. There's ways you can climb your way to the top of that mountain, but if you slip too big, you're going to avalanche down, right? So just be careful in the ways that you do it and what you do. But I don't think he's done anything wrong per se. It's just a matter of building that persona and how much of that persona do you build. So look, the biggest thing for me if I were giving advice to Noah is, you need to put a little bit more focus on yourself, your team, and less on everybody else, and go out there and win races. And look, he was super fast at Homestead. Highly impressive what he was doing there, and should have won that race, but ultimately it didn't happen. And look, there's hundreds of YouTube videos out there of Kyle Busch after a race in which he dominated and didn't win, where he's pissed off afterwards. So I'm guilty of it too, but it was just, it's a racing incident. It's stuff that happens. I've grown to understand a little bit more of that as I've gotten older, so I'm sure he will too.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to squeeze in one final question. Dustin Long, go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Kyle, you referenced how well you did early at Atlanta. And obviously, I know at Phoenix, you talked about you need to score some stage 1 points. You've done that the last couple of weeks. You've also referenced, and I think David Wilson's also talked about, not everything is translating from the sim over to the car. And that's kind of leading to some of the struggles early on. So the last couple of weeks, are you guys kind of throwing away what's you're getting from the sim? Is there a better correlation? Because certainly there's a better jump here in what you're doing in the opening stage and getting some points.
Yeah, I guess to answer your question, I don't need to go to the sim anymore because I've actually been on the West Coast, so I haven't been in town to go to the sim the last 2 weeks. So there was no pre-Phoenix test prep, and there was no pre-Atlanta prep on sim. So that's some interesting points that are out there. It just wasn't around in order to be able to do it. But we've certainly built our notebook so far, and we will continue to build our notebook. Truex and I looked really close the first run of the race in Phoenix, where we were handling the same. He hit the wall off of turn 2 about 2 laps after I hit the wall off of turn 2. So they just came to pit road and they made some wholesale adjustments to their car that really made it take off. And we made some adjustments to our car this weekend at Atlanta. Literally, it was a half a round out of the right rear during the race. And we went from being kind of okay, like a 4th place car, to a 12th place car with a half a round of adjustments. So there's a lot that can happen with those adjustments on pit road. And so we're learning that stuff right now. I know Ben's learning that stuff. He doesn't have that experience. Jake and Seth, my engineers, they've been in the Cup Series for a couple of years on the 20. So we're all debriefing and talking about each and every thing that we do and what magnitude those things feel like to me, so they can help build their knowledge and what we need to do going forward.
Thank you.
All right, Kyle, we appreciate your time today and really appreciate you